In a book by the Dutch writer and poet Cés Nooteboom, we find a peculiar tongue twister. It says, wobble, wibble wobble, wibble wobble wibble wobble. This is the way in which the writer translates what he sees and hears early in the morning while sitting at a cafe in Venice. As Venice opens up to the tourists and the coming and going of workers and students, this typically lagoon-like atmosphere of floating and balancing, so brilliantly described by Nooteboom, connects each day with the sound of footsteps on the mazzegni, square-cut blocks of cement that cover the foundations. Our appointment in Venice to visit the behind-the-scenes of Open End, the great exhibition of Marlene Dumas, falls right on Fat Tuesday. Along the streets, the parade of turquoise cloaks, skirts embroidered with lace, and white-painted faces with moles drawn on cheeks. Right in front of the Grand Canal, where the taxis and ferries run along, there is Palazzo Grassi, one of the city's most famous buildings, in the Campo of San Samuele. Palazzo Grassi has been patronizing the arts ever since the 50s. It has exhibited artists such as Luc Tuymane and Damien Hirst. The title of the most important exhibition of 2022, Open End, evokes the precariousness of life and perhaps even the uncertainties of the times we're living in. Furthermore, the expression also indicates the condition of openness and unresolvedness in art itself. From this point of view, Open End references the visitors of the exhibition directly. It's nothing less than a suggestion, an invitation to interpret and look at the world and all its things with one's own eyes. This is A Sort of Tenderness, a podcast series from Cora Media, promoted by Palazzo Grassi, Pinel Collection, Venice. Open End, curated by Caroline Bourgeois, in collaboration with Marlene Dumas, collects over 100 paintings and drawings from 1984 to today, some of which have never been seen before, from private collections, international museums, and from the Pinel collection. But the real origin of the work remains the place where it was created, meaning the artist's studio. This is a location that is often romanticized, such as the case of Francis Bacon, where it was taken apart piece by piece in London and put back together in a museum in Ireland. Marlene Dumas, on the other hand, doesn't seem akin to the idea of mythologizing the place in which she works.
I don't have one of those, there's pictures, photographs and stuff, but sometimes things of years ago, that is pinned up on the walls in between the paintings and this stuff. So I'm not a Francis Bacon person, but I'm also not like these young people who they don't drink and they don't smoke and they have clean studios and, and they're very, So the, how can I say? The myths of the artist studio, I don't think I have a particularly interesting studio. Only for other people who have clean spaces.
The studio is where Marlene Dumas works, but it would be a mistake to believe that her days are occupied only by color and brushes, or are solely dedicated to creating lines and shapes on canvas.
So I have chaotic days filled with other stuff, and these days that all the things surrounding art, answering emails and things like that, and Yeah, so there's all these things actually takes your attention away from what you really want to do. So my life is filled with, I'm not saying that it's all nonsense, but it's filled with what I call people things. People, they're my burden, they're my inspiration, but they also totally take you away from. But I do a lot of work also on other people's things or things that's related to art, but help someone with a book on someone else's work or so. So there's so many things at the same time going on that's all related to art. But actually, standing there like some artists, I go 9 to 5 and then I have my lunch and then I go and paint. No, that is totally not at all how I work. And mostly, if something happens, then it is very late at night when actually everyone is gone and I can concentrate properly.
Dumas' works have made a long trip from a museum or private collection, protected by crates all the way to Venice, and have arrived in San Samuele, in front of Palazzo Grassi. From February to March, Claudia Di Sordo registered the works of Marlene Dumas for Palazzo Grassi.
So the registrar is a professional figure inside a museum, but not only a museum. It can be a registrar of a gallery, of a private collection that takes care of all the logistics related to an artwork. For all the logistics, I mean from the loan request to the condition report of the works, the shipping, insurance, and till the arrival of the work at the museum.
The crates are unloaded at the ground floor, amongst the splendid columns of the palace's atrium. On one side of the crates, we read the title of the works inside: The Bride, The Visitor, Red Moon, Crucifixion, Pasolini's Mother.
So the crates we have here inside the atrium are half of the crates that arrived. The other half has still to come. And here we have lots of crates coming from the United States, from France, and from Switzerland, from different collections, collectors, and museums. And the major has come in a cargo shipment from JFK to Luxembourg, and then switched on a plane to Milano, from Milano by truck, and then the last part, which is really interesting here in Venice, on the boat till the museum. So we have, for example, lots of these crates of works by Marlene Dumas were exhibited at the Musée d'Orsay. And so she selected these works also for the exhibition here in Venice, just a few of them. And so they had to be transferred from the museum, Musée d'Orsay, to the storage of the shipping agent in France, and then were transferred from there directly to our museum. And I have always some informations on the crate to know the artwork that is inside and if the artwork has a courier or not. Because if there is a courier, this man or woman have to be present here to open the crates and to check the artwork with me.
The crates are all made of wood. Some are quite large and beautiful. Then there's a yellow one, which stands out from the others.
And this yellow crate, I always say it's the Rolls-Royce of the crates. It's a turtle crate. Many lenders want to use this crate because it's very easy to open, very easy to close. And inside you have many possibilities to block the artwork. and it can be adjusted for many types of paintings. I love this work a lot because I'm the first person that sees together with the conservators the artworks, and it's always exciting to be the first person to be present by the opening of the crates. And yes, one memory is lots of sculptures of Damien Hirst were installed very early in the morning, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, because of the water traffic. So we had to do this without boats on the Canal Grande. And it was really exciting to be alone and to do this with the staff.
On the second floor, one of the paintings is a small oil on canvas, depicting the poet Charles Baudelaire. Dumas is the author of a series of works inspired by a posthumous work by Baudelaire, The Spleen of Paris, in which the poet observes Paris and the madness in its streets. In the guide of the open-end exhibition, there's a phrase of Baudelaire, which Dumas claims to feel her own. The artist is an artist only if he can be himself and another at the same time, and not to ignore any aspect of his dual nature. In 2021, in celebration of the 200th anniversary from the birth of Baudelaire, the Musée d'Orsay in Paris exhibited the works of Dumas inspired by the Spleen of Paris.
On April 9th, 2021, we celebrated the 200th anniversary of Baudelaire's birth. And to mark the anniversary of the birth of this legendary, very prominent figure in the collection of the Musée d'Orsay in the world of the 19th century, to which the Musée d'Orsay is devoted, we invented a number of programs.
This is the voice of Donatien Gros, in charge of the contemporary art program at the Musée d'Orsay. Gros told us of his meeting with Dumas and of the artist's work on the figure of Charles Baudelaire.
Marlene Dumas is a little bit of a special guest for us because we've had this conversation with her about doing something together for years now. And first it was supposed to be what was known as conversations. And then the second half was that over the course of our conversation with her, we found out that she was working on a series of paintings titled The Paris Spleen, which was a tribute to Baudelaire, that she was developing with her friend, the late Hafid Bouaza. And we heard about these paintings, we saw some of them, and we thought we have to present them as part of our Baudelairean celebration. And of course, Marlene's work is very deeply embedded within a conversation with Baudelaire. A number of aspects of her work, such as a relation to photography, a relation to images, a relation to identity and distance, a relation to oppression, a certain form of social question, a relation to intimacy, the fact that intimacy is at the very heart of her work, intensity, to an extent politics, but not just from the point of view of politics, but actually from the opening up of the polis, the city, the world of everyone.
Next to the painting of Baudelaire, there's another one, dedicated to a woman named Jeanne Duval, a figure that truly deserves to be remembered.
Jeanne Duval was, in a complicated way, the life partner of Baudelaire. She was present with him all across his life in different ways. He took care of her when she had health problems. When, at the end of his life, when he couldn't speak anymore, he was very ill. The only image he had in his house, in his mansion, was a portrait of Jeanne Duval by Manet. So she really is there all along. And Baudelaire's mother famously hated Jeanne Duval. It's a very complicated story. But the most important thing about Jeanne Duval is that, in a way, she's now being very consistently rediscovered because she was Creole. It was an important factor in Baudelaire's relation to her that she was Creole. She inspired a number of poems like The Hair, The Balcony by Baudelaire, and she opened up the world, in a way, of the 19th century. one of his early poems called À une Malabaraise, to a woman from Malabar, Indian coast. And Jeanne Duval herself opens up to a great space of foreignness, otherness, strangeness, which is embedded within the language and the transformation of culture and language that Baudelaire brought in. And of course, that is very directly connected to Marlene's work and vision of the world. You know, Marlene brought in and painted some of the most extraordinary figures of individuals coming and friends coming from South Africa and people nobody knew. She gave them the most beautiful portraiture that had ever been present in Western tradition. And of course, Marlene herself lives between this strangeness, otherness. She's always in this constant state of belonging and not belonging, which is really the name of Jeanne Duval in Baudelaire's poetry. And if you look at Marlene's portrait, it's an imaginary portrait, first of all. So it is a sort of door, a gate onto a world. And it is probably one of the most beautiful portraits painted in the last 100 years. So what's extraordinary about it is that this extraordinary beauty, this radical beauty, is also open to a different world of higher nobility, a world of creation, a world of poetry.
Her 2012 painting of Pasolini also confirms Dumas' interest in literary figures and their faces. Dumas had met the work of Pier Paolo Pasolini when she first arrived in Europe.
Oh, well, Pasolini, I have to admit, he was a very attractive man. I can't remember exactly when I became such a fan of his, but I remember still hitchhiking to Paris, which was of the few things to, among other things, see his Salo. But I saw it in Italian with French subtitles, so I couldn't understand anything, but I only looked at the visuals. But his connection of politics, religion, but also for the sacred, and beautiful, the relationship between Mama Roma, you have the mother and the son. I've always thought it's wonderful how, you have different love stories, not only about, man, woman, or woman, man, but all kinds of love stories.
Pasolini had dedicated a poem to the actress Marilyn Monroe, passed away the year before at just 36 years of age. In that poem, he described her beauty as belonging to the old world and to the world of the future, lost to the world like a golden dove. Likewise, Dumas dedicated her painting Dead Marilyn to the actress as well. According to art critic and historian Elizabeth Lebovitzy, Dumas was inspired by the photograph of Marilyn Monroe's corpse, published in a magazine in 1985.
It has the title Dead Marilyn, and painting is done after a stolen photograph of Marilyn Monroe. Not that Marlene has stolen it, but I think it was photography that was taken in the morgue after Marilyn's autopsy, after her death. So it's a photography of a dead body and a dead face that was, if I remember well, stolen actually by an English journalist. He published it in 1985 with another title actually, which was Marilyn in Death. It's interesting, the relationship between in death and in depth, in fact. One can remark that.
Thinking about Marilyn Monroe, among all the photographs and movie shots, we can't not remember Andy Warhol's serigraphs, created between 1962 and 1967. Yet, what makes Marlene Dumas' Dead Marilyn special?
Let's look at the way Marlene treats a dead body, the dead body of a nightclub. And let's think of all the dead bodies that, in particular, Christian painting has been treating. The body of the Christ, for instance, the entombment, the crucifixion, the resurrection are very common themes in Christian painting. from the Middle Ages ongoing. And so it is a very peculiar way to treat death that painting has, which is to think and to try to catch this moment between death and a kind of other spiritual life. Now, that's what religion tells us. And think about, these incredible paintings by Holbein, for instance, of the dead Christ, And to me, what is so striking about Marlene Dumas is the way that indeed the texture of painting itself, the colors of the painting, the texture of the painting, these incredible grays, these incredible turquoises, these incredible blues and purple, make the surface of the paintings embody all the trauma, all the emotion, all the contradictory affects that we can actually face facing death, facing a dead body. And look also the way the hair is disposed. The brushes of the instruments that are used for painting are here kind of reproducing the very soft gesture that one uses to undo, the hair of somebody that has just died, the particularly kind gestures one can have touching the hair of someone that doesn't exist anymore.
Not all of Dumas' paintings have the same sizes. Indeed, they are sometimes striking precisely for their unexpected format, such as the case of Magdalena, Out of Eggs, Out of Business, a painting from 1995.
It's one of those very interesting formats that Marlene Dumas uses, this very long rectangle, in which, first of all, you don't distinguish very well the body from the background. The background is brown, and the body is also kind of brownish color. You don't see it exactly. You see that, you see the arms, you see the legs. You don't see the feet, which are very interesting, and the hands are kind of very, very strangely painted also. And what is really striking in this painting, to my point of view, is that the only features that you actually distinguish are mostly the eyes and mostly the nose, a little bit the mouth, but mostly the hair. And so, how do you express the social representation of old women, women that have been through menopause, that are, as Marlene Dumas titles it ironically, out of eggs and thus out of business. How she does that is by using a kind of thinness of the painting to express the thinness of a kind of growing hair, which, like a witch, is going to grow and circle the body like a kind of crown of old age, replacing also the pubic hair, by the way. And so you have, when you get older, your hair gets mushier. It doesn't curl anymore as well. It doesn't make the fluffy kind of, wave that it could make at a young age, and it is made at a young age. It suddenly goes down, and this crowning by a thinning hair represented by the thinness of painting is something that, is really, really, to me, the most interesting part of this painting.
Marlene Dumas moves across the spaces of Palazzo Grassi as the exhibition is being set up. We ask her about Hafid Bouassa, a writer and friend who passed away last year, and also if there are any other meanings in the title of the exhibition, Open End. Dumas explains to us that the title is a reference to the passing of time, to her recent life and the life that she's looking towards. And then she has an idea.
I want to play a song. I want to play a beautiful poem read by Marianne Faithfull. I think that this is a good way to end what I've said, because, she can say it much better. And in this year, more people have died, not only Hafid Bouhassan, but also my partner. And next year I'll be 70. So, so I don't have that much time left either, maybe. But okay, I'll play you the song, all right?
So we'll go no more a-roving, so late into the night, though the heart be still as loving, and the moon be still as bright. For the
Marlene Dumas walks across the space of Palazzo Grassi. She has just left a room in which there's a small painting on the floor, waiting to be hung with the others. It was originally supposed to be the last painting of the exhibition, but Dumas then decided to move it elsewhere. It's called Eender, and it's dedicated to her mother, Helena, who passed away in September 2007. Dumas always pays special attention to the titles of her works, and she chooses each title meticulously. Occasionally they're assertive and blunt, such as The Death of the Author. Other times they're mysterious, associations such as Snow White and The Next Generation. In this case, it's just one word. It comes from an Afrikaans poem, and just like that ambivalent open end, which we can see printed on the catalogue of the exhibition, Eender evokes both the end of a voyage, as well as a horizon and a wide open frontier. A Sort of Tenderness is a podcast written by Ivan Carozzi and produced by Cora Media, promoted by Palazzo Grassi, Pinole Collection, Venice. The voice is John Vincent. Studio recordings by Francesco Ferrari for Frigo Studio. The sound engineer and direct recording are Daniel Van de Poppe, Hugo Hanun, Davide De Benedetti, and Marco Campana. The editing of the interviews is by Francesca Botenghi. The producers are Anna Nenna and Munia Donati. The original music and the sound design is from Lost Movie. Content supervisor, Sara Poma.